the only video game... Well, first of all, did you watch the fucking season finale of Moon Knight?
No, but we finished Your Flag It Means Death.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we haven't finished that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, finished Moon Knight today. Holy shit.
Okay.
And the best part was, it doesn't fucking have anything to do with fucking Avengers or any other bullshit. It it stays self-contained the whole way through. And I was just like...
That's kind of what I want Star Wars to start doing. Just start rubbing its titties suggestively. Yeah, it doesn't have to tie back to the old movies, doesn't have to tie back to the Skywalkers, or really any established character. It's okay to tell a new story with new characters.
So, question for you.
Yeah.
Because it's May the 4th, there's been like a lot of photos and shit like that shared, including some behind-the-scenes footage of Mandalorian Book of Boba Fett. And that, like, Disney over-exaggerated?
What?
Because... Remember when the new young Luke shit dropped?
Okay.
And they were like, oh, this was like completely computerized. We had like a stand-in and we just like deep faked him and it looked way better this time. And like there was fucking AI that did the fucking vocal track for him. So like Mark Hamill wasn't even fucking a part of this anymore. Yeah. We can like make it without him now. Yeah, there was like tons of photos of Mark Hamill on set doing the thing.
Okay.
Like there's a photo of him in the old getup and he's holding the little baby chainmail. Like
maybe so he was like the body double for himself. Like they AI faced.
There was a guy. Yeah, there was still a young guy there who looks a lot like him. So it's almost like, why are we even bothering with deep faking? This kid kind of looks like him.
Yeah.
But he was still there, and it just felt like when that episode dropped, Disney was like way into jerking itself off about how much like, oh my god, we just did this without Mark Hamill, fuck him. And then it was like, no, he was on set, like he clearly was helping with this. So
the deepfake stuff is definitely, it's getting better, but it is still Uncanny Valley to me, where it's just like it takes me out of like, I'm just like, what was that real? No, it like
it's the eyes and the mouth.
Yep.
Those are the two that really fuck you up, because the eyes, it's usually something weird. It's usually lighting, and then the mouth, when they start moving, you get that weird, like it's not moving exactly how a face should.
Hey, welcome, Games Podcast. My name is James.
I'm Justin.
I'm Zach.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Here we are.
Yeah.
It's May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you guys too.
Yeah,
hey.
We are also with you.
We're all
screwed up the name.
We're all looking real dumb, real nerdy and dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys doing anything special to commemorate May the 4th other than just wearing a dumb t-shirt?
Just wearing a dumb t-shirt.
Right. Yeah.
I watched some Disney Plus.
Oh, did you?
I gave Disney my money. That helps.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you gotta help out Disney. That's one thing I've learned.
That's the one. That's who really.
You gotta give them some money. You know, that's charity. That's charitable. Just give Disney more money.
Ron DeSantis is trying to take the money away.
Right.
Trying to shut down their fire department.
Right.
To do the Star Wars last episode, and instead, not talk about Star Wars at all.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, great job.
No, today we're talking about Kirby and what? Fuck me. What's the name?
Forgotten Land.
Thank you. I always fucking forget what the name. It's the most forgettable title.
Kirby and the Post-Apocalyptic Earth.
Yeah. Kirby and the literally forgettable title, The Forgotten Land.
Kirby and damn you, you blew it up, you bastards. That's the.
This is like my favorite, like when we get around to like a franchise, like what is your guys' experience with Kirby? I think this is the first Kirby game, mainline Kirby game, I think, that I've played from start to finish. Like I've dabbled, but in all of them, I think, but this is like the first one I'm like, all right, and I finished it.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I'm sort of historically a Kirby player. I played the original Dreamland, Nightmare in Dreamland, all those all the side-scrolling, 2D Super Nintendo, Game Boy ones, I did. To really compare this game, I did play through 100% Kirby 64, aka Kirby and the Crystal Shards. Um, so I mean, yeah, I mean, so it was kind of exciting to see the game take a new turn on not just being like a linear scrolling kind of game and give you more of a
Yeah.
3D kind of opening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's almost like if you played Super Mario 3D World, it's like 3D, but you're I don't know, you're kind of limited in how far you can go in any one direction usually. Um, yeah.
My history with Kirby is I want to say my sister had a couple of Kirby games for the Game Boy, so I played that a little bit as a kid. Um, my first like real sort of handling of Kirby was definitely in like the Smash Brothers games, and just how great of a teabagger Kirby is. Um, my brother loved the Kirby cartoon show. What was it? Kirby Right Back at You, I think it was.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It came out roughly when the Sonic cartoon came out.
Yeah.
Not the old Sonic cartoons.
No,
I'm
the
talking
more,
the
yeah,
more retro.
Sonic Underground, that kind of, yeah.
It was
And then my other great experience with Kirby is, James, I like that you're like shocked. Like, wait. They sold out and made a cartoon show about a video game? Yeah, that's Nintendo's thing. They do that.
Yeah. I know. I just didn't know they did it specifically with Kirby, but I've seen like obviously Mario, Zelda, whatever.
Yeah, and Captain N and all that.
Right.
But no, my other major experience is I have like an 8-hour VHS tape of every Super Nintendo commercial that was played in like store kiosks when it first came out. And so I have watched every single commercial for every single Kirby game that was on the Game Boy and Super Nintendo, and just watched how much they struggled to try to sell the game.
Yeah.
And try to explain the game in like a 30-second like blip. They were just like, I don't know, man. There's a penguin. He's got a hammer.
I specifically remember being a little kid and seeing the commercial where it's like Kirby gets rushed to the ER because he's been like eating too much or something, and like being a little kid and being like, what the fuck? Like, what does this have to do?
And then they kept like comparing him to marshmallows for a while.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Like, okay, he's
Yeah,
a like me being an actual person who played it though, I was like, he's not really a marshmallow. He's just a little.
And then there's always that I don't know, controversy, meme, whatever, where you compare like the box art between like every Kirby game everywhere else in the world versus how it looks in America, and like the layout's exactly the same, but they give Kirby like angry eyebrows in America, so it's like Kirby's pretty badass actually. You know, if you're not aware. So that's my experience with Kirby. So this is the first like full-blown ass Kirby game that I've like really sat down and really gotten into.
I'll say overall I really enjoyed this. This is something just like the Lego game that we reviewed on a previous episode. This is like a nice co-op game that I've just been playing, you know, very casually with my wife here and there. She usually plays Kirby and then I play Bandana Waddle Dee. I had to very consciously say that because I misspoke at first and called him Banana Waddle Dee, and she started making fun of me. So now we both just call him Banana Waddle Dee.
Banana Waddle Dee. That's clearly the name.
I'm gonna be Banana Waddle Dee.
The exact same thing in our house. We've been basically bouncing back and forth between Lego Star Wars and Kirby as like the chill out before bed kind of game. However, I will say that I think Kirby does a way better job of like chilling out before bed than Lego Star Wars, because there's still elements of Lego Star Wars where you're like, God damn it, I gotta get to the platform and fucking thing. Kirby, it was just like, this is fun and this is whimsical and yay and good feelings before bed. Nobody was getting mad at each other before bed, and I can't say the same thing about Lego Star Wars.
It's got the Nintendo polish that Lego is missing. There's it's smoothed off all of those edges, those sharp edges have just been polished off, and everything just kind of feels good.
It feels like a Kirby game.
It
if you've ever played any of the like 3D-esque Kirby games, it feels great. I mean, it pretty much plays like Kirby. You got a couple extra moves, but he does pretty much the same stuff he's always done, so it feels right.
One thing I will say that it does a really great job of is natural exploration for like the little bonusy things, like finding like the extra like stamps and collectibles and things like that. It does a really, really great job of making organic exploration feel like, oh, this is awesome, and not like, oh my god, I got to search around and I mean it's not trying to be Dark Souls, but it does a really great job of allowing for the exploration to be like, oh, hey, I found the thing, awesome, and not like, how the hell would I ever find this thing, that, because that's can sometimes be, because like Mario Odyssey kind of got that way at a certain point, where it's like, how the fuck was I ever supposed to figure out that this is where the thing is? Whereas with Kirby, it was just sort of like, oh, I was already kind of fucking around here and I found this. This is great. Yeah. Just as a quick aside, a little baby bit of research, it has currently, as of recording, it has an 85 Metascore on Metacritic and a 9.0 user rating, which puts it as one of the highest, if not the highest, Metascore reviewed game in Kirby history. There is next to nobody saying anything shitty. Everyone's having a really good time. I was very impressed with that. I thought it was really interesting that everyone just kind of joined hands and was like, man, this is a fucking good game. I don't have any complaints.
I think that's two things. I think that's one, first of all, it's a good game. Like, that. And then second, it's kind of got, like, the Nintendo Switch effect, where, like, I mean, I think, like, Animal Crossing definitely had this, where, like, a whole bunch of people played it, and it was, like, their first Animal Crossing. Like, a whole bunch of people played this, it's their first Kirby. Maybe that happened with, like, Breath of the Wild, too. Like, I think there's just the Switch is so ubiquitous that, like, anytime a new Nintendo franchise gets released on the Switch, there's just a boatload of people who are like, oh, I've never played this game before, let me try it out. So that might account for that, maybe a little bit, I don't know.
No, why is that? Because that doesn't necessarily cross over. Like, just because it's like, oh, here's whatever, name your equivalent thing on, like, PlayStation. There's not plenty of people who are like, well, I've never played this type of game before, let me jump in. They're like, oh, it's not a sequel to the game I like, so fuck this shit. Why? What is it about the Switch that makes people, like, more willing to try new things as part of a franchise? Is it just because it's like, what else are you gonna play? Or
I'm just saying the Switch has sold 1 million and gajillion fucking bajillion copy. Like, the Switch, I think at this point has outsold the Wii. I don't know if you're aware, but the Wii sold more copies than God, and now the Switch has outsold.
Okay.
So just like everyone and their mother has a Switch now. So like if you're looking for something new to play, you're just like, oh, Kirby, cool.
Yeah, I think one of the things Nintendo does, well, whenever like the Nintendo-esque like franchises do, is that like you made the point, Zach, is that it's not a sequel. They don't really do sequels. It's just kind of like new adventure every time. Yeah. So with Mario, it's just new adventures. Mm-hmm. Kirby, it's a new adventure. Zelda, it's pretty much a new adventure. Sometimes there's a sequel. But like overall, it like and I agree. It's also this because of the Switch and it's probably its versatility and everyone likes to play it in bed. It's just an easy system to play. But over that, it's just like having that opportunity to play a game, knowing that you didn't really have to play the old one to figure out the new one.
True.
And it's just kind of just its own game in of itself. So maybe that's just what makes it work.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it's got an element of, I don't know if you guys ever played, like, the fucking Yoshi Epic Yarn for last gen, but it's like, it has a definitely similar vibe of, like, hey, we're just chilling out, we're having a fun time, but doesn't quite feel as, like, I don't know, it's like preschool, I guess, as Yoshi did. Like, there were times where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm on a watch list because I'm playing this as a full-grown adult.
Yeah.
Whereas Kirby felt a little bit more like, no, it's just a different kind of paced game, but it's still like it's still a full, complete game. It's good. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I was going in with just sort of like general interest, but not really like hard set expectations, and I was like, this is actually a lot of fun. So I was impressed.
Yeah. No, same. The biggest thing I'm going to knock this for is not really this game's fault, and as long as we're talking about the Switch, like the the last few things I've played on the Switch, and especially now this game, like, I don't know if you guys agree, but I think the Switch so very desperately needs a hardware upgrade. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm running into frame rate issues. I'm running into, like, the resolution looks kind of shit. I mean, I have an obnoxiously big TV, but, like, everything just kind of looks jaggy and, like...
The flex. The ultimate flex.
No, it's not
Kirby,
even
Kirby
it's
sucks
just-
because it makes my giant TV look bad.
Yeah, but, like, I can, like, switch over to PC and play things in 4K or even 1080. Like, the Switch cannot consistently hit 1080, and it's like, oh my god, like, 2022, we gotta get games to run at 1080. Like, that's, like, bare minimum now. Like, I don't know. I feel like the Switch has we gotta get a Switch HD, Switch Pro, something before Breath of the Wild 2,
You got the OLED. That's basically the same thing.
No, I'm telling you, we talked about this on the podcast before. Tinfoil hat on. I think the Switch OLED was supposed to be the Switch Pro, but COVID, supply chain, fucked that all up, and they were just left with a big warehouse of OLED screens, and they're like, well, I guess we can make OLED Switches.
Not good enough for Kirby though.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. That's like the one thing I'm like, man, like. Because playing like the new Pokemon Snap, I'm like, god damn, like this would be a million times better if it was just the resolution was just not shit. I mean, it's not shit. It's shit. It's shit. It's
no,
bad.
You're not wrong. You've said shit 10 times, so that means you're right. That's the rule. No, you're right. Yeah, it's noticeable, and even in a game like this, where you're like, come on, it's not like you're running, some super duper detail like.
Yeah.
Oh, the most lifelike characters that have ever been rendered. It's like, no, this is like cutesy, gooby shit. And the fact that it still struggles at moments, you're like, come on, game, what are we doing?
Yeah, like the new Pokemon, that's the one that would really, like, ooh. But, like, this game, too, where, I don't know, like, this game visually looks so much better than Pokemon, obviously, everyone's...
I know.
Like, that game looks rough. This game...
It's like, come on. Come on, Pokemon. Like, hire some people from HAL Labs. Let's go.
Yeah, this game looks really pretty, and I just want the resolution to, like...
match that.
Yes, exactly. And the frame rate.
It looks great, and it looks like it was made in 1997.
Yeah, it's like the art... It's like Nintendo is so good, HAL Labs is so... I don't know. Anything under the Nintendo umbrella, with the exception of Pokemon, apparently. Like, the art style can kind of compensate for the lack of... Like, I was watching, like, my wife was playing Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, god damn, this game is, like, fucking beautiful, and it came out in 2017, but then I'm, like, looking at it's got all the same, like, not so much frame rate, but they're, like, the resolution in that game is still shit, but, like, you don't really notice that, because, like, Nintendo is so good at art style that your eye doesn't get caught up on those things, but I don't know. It's time for a hardware upgrade. I want it. I don't know. Zach doesn't seem to care, but I'm gung-ho for a more powerful...
You're talking to a guy who watches his movies on VHS. Like, do I give a shit about the resolution? Of course not.
He watches little gray lines scroll across his CRT.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay.
I'm talking to the wrong audience, I guess. But
yeah,
I want to know...
When I watch Twitch channels, I watch them through a CRT. Like, that's how much of an asshole I am. So that means nothing to me. As long as it runs smooth enough, I'm like, it's fine. But I totally see your point, and especially if you look at a game like Kirby and how good it looks and the art style of it, and then you start to think, like, what could they do if there wasn't a ceiling they kept hitting?
Exactly. It's hamstrung by the hardware. Like, all of these new games are just hamstrung by the shitty Switch hardware. Well, it's not even shitty. It is now. It's, it's 5... We're 5 years in, and the hardware was already kind of underpowered when it came out, and now it's just like...
It's starting to get more noticeable. It's starting to become an elephant in the room.
That is my... Thank you. That is more eloquently expressed the point that I'm trying to make. The longer we go, the more noticeable it is that the Switch is underpowered.
That I could totally agree with.
Yes.
And then you're absolutely right. Are we reaching that tipping point where it's going to be like, are we going to lose games for the Switch because it just can't handle it? Like, are we going to reach that apex?
I'm tired of looking at new Switch games and being like, what if the Switch was more powerful?
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't go with the whole expansion pack thing like they did for like 64. Like do like a slot that you can just plug some fucking, I don't know, graphics enhancement.
We can all agree, despite the console wars and stuff like that, we can all agree that there was no greater technology than the totem pole system that the Sega Genesis gave us when you had to put in the 32X and Sonic and Knuckles and all. It never got better than that. So I agree. If there could be some kind of thing to jam on top of the Switch and then like plug an HDMI cable into that and whatever, like that's where the future holds for Nintendo.
That would be pretty. That would be pretty cool if they do make a slot that can like kind of bump up the Switch's, I don't know, like instead of it just being like a click in and it's charging and displaying, it's like a click in and it's got a little bit of a better, I don't know, graphics output kind of.
My fear.
True, I guess technically, yeah. If you like snuck it into the dock, I guess that could work.
Yeah.
My fear, I am so excited. I'm pretty sure either next week or the week after my Steam Deck is going to ship. And I feel like once I have that in my hand, I'm never going to look back at the Switch until like Breath of the Wild 2 or the next big Nintendo title comes out. Because, like, why would I? Like, you know? I don't know. Anyway.
Give this man Darkest Dungeon 2. That's all he wants. Let him play it on the Steam Deck. And then after a week into that, then we'll all be trying to buy Steam Decks to play Darkest Dungeon 2.
Anyway, that's my Switch
all over again.
My Switch hardware rant. Anyway, back to Kirby. Do you guys have anything else to say about Kirby? It was good. It was great. I enjoyed it.
Kirby put a lot of big shit in his mouth, and every time it came up with a new thing to be like, "Hey, you're gonna eat this big fucking thing and become this thing," I was like, "This is somebody's fetish."
How much can Kirby deep throat in this game?
Did you guys get to finish this game?
Did not finish it yet. No.
Okay. I don't want to spoil it, but I will say you will never guess what the ending scene of this game is. I could give you 1,000,001 guesses. You'll never guess how this game ends. It's so.
My guess is sight unseen. Kirby devours the entire world.
Good guess.
The whole fucking planet, and it pans out. Oh, it's a Katamari Damacy game the whole time.
What if I'm just gonna tell you because you guys won't fucking believe it. What if I told you there's an alien, super powerful ultimate...
Wait a minute. Should we put spoilers in the description here?
Spoilers. I'm spoiling the Kirby game.
We'll put the time code in the description.
I'm just gonna describe a ridiculous thing out of context. If you don't want to hear what it is, skip ahead 5 minutes, whatever. The ending scene of this game, there's like an ultimate life form alien. It's very Dragon Ball Z. There's an ultimate life form alien who has like 3 different transformations, and the final transformation, he like flies up in the sky like full anime style, and he's like throwing pieces of the world at you, like a la Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then he has like a giant Kamehameha beam, and in order to counter the Kamehameha beam,
oh my god,
Kirby deep throats a semi-truck and like has to drive fast enough to like offset the Kamehameha, and you have to like mash. You have this like beam battle where you have to like mash so hard that the semi beats the. It's the most outrageous thing I never. You could give me 1,000,000 Mad Libs and I never would have Mad Libbed the ending of this game.
The fact that he beats Perfect Cell by deep throating a trucker, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous.
Well done, Hell Labs. Well done.
Yeah.
It goes to show that Kirby is the most powerful video game character.
Yeah. There should be an alternate ending to every one-player game for Smash. That's just like whatever the big bad is, Kirby just sneaks up behind them and eats them, and that's how it ends.
I'm so glad you mentioned Smash. Did you guys ever play Kirby Air Ride?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That was my shit.
I never played Kirby Air Ride ever. So as we're playing Kirby in the forgotten title of this game, my wife is like, "Oh man, I used to love Kirby Air Ride." I'm like, "Okay, we should play that when we finish." So we finished this game. We put in Kirby Air Ride. For me, a Smash player, especially one who played a fuckload of Melee, Kirby Air Ride is this weird, alternate, like, nightmare version of Melee, where it's like, Melee, because it's developed by Sakurai's, Sora Ltd. and HAL Labs, and it was the last Kirby game that Sakurai made, and he made it like right after Melee. So there's so many reused Melee assets. Like all the art style's the same, the composer's the same, a lot of the graphical elements are the same. It's this weird alternate version of Melee, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like when you pause the game and unpause the game, it's the same sound effect as it is in Melee. The menus all work the same. Like the graphic, it's so weird. I'm like, this is like Melee, but not, and it's freaking me out.
Very odd.
Yeah. Anyway, fun game though. I like Kirby Air Ride. That's
you
cool.
Did you play the multiplayer one where you go around the city, find like new carts and upgrade them and?
No. Wait, is that? We were just racing each other.
Oh no. So there's a whole thing where I forget what the mode's called. It is one of the multiplayer modes.
Do you have to unlock it or something?
I don't think so. You can just play it right off the bat, I think.
Uh-huh.
You're dropped into a city, all of you, and what you have to do is ride around. Obviously, you get the basic, warp star, but you can hop off the warp star if you find another vehicle and jump onto that. And then essentially, what you're supposed to do, you get you can set the time, but I think you get like 5 or 10 minutes to ride around this whole entire city. You can go on top of buildings, underground. There's all sorts of shit. And you're supposed to collect upgrades to sit here and bump up your vehicle. And you can fuck over other people. So if you hit someone enough, so if you get a vehicle that has already is very good with just attacking someone, you can sit there and hit them a whole bunch of times and just destroy the thing they've been working on, and they have to go start again.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's also where the Kirby dragon pieces came from. So there will be dragon vehicles that'll randomly fly in, and if you collect, you can either collect the pieces, or you can try to get onto one of the dragon vehicles by jumping on it. But if you collect all the pieces, you get this super powerful vehicle. And then the other thing is that the final event. So after you do the whole city and you get your vehicle all upgraded and the time runs out, the thing that you have to do is randomized. So you're either going to race, you're going to do like a dart game essentially, or you're going to do like a battle royale, or you all have to fight a boss. So it's you may have put a bunch into say flying or speed, but then you have to do battling in your melee, or your attack sucks. So
And this is all multiplayer?
Yeah.
Oh shit. This sounds
very
really fun.
odd.
I definitely want to play this now.
And then you can teabag.
Apparently, the other crazy thing about there's a really big online net play community for Kirby Air Ride. Also, because Kirby Air Ride it was this very forward-thinking game and had LAN support on the Nintendo GameCube. Yeah, there's a GameCube LAN adapter you could get. So the netcode is kind of sort of already there in place. So if you emulate this on Dolphin, you can anyway. The net play infrastructure is already there. You don't have to come up with some crazy
build it from scratch.
Scratch like they've done for Melee or done for a lot of these other games. It's so yeah. There's a lot of people that play Kirby Air Ride online, I guess, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's called City Trial.
Oh, City Trial. Okay, I gotta check that out. That sounds really fun.
So, overall, 3 out of 3, thumbs up. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, pretty damn good, surprisingly damn good, and something to chill out with before bed. And it's good. It's good. But fellas, this feels weird. It's still May the 4th, and we're talking about a Kirby game. So if we can depart slightly from the norm here, I think it's time to talk about some cinema. So it's May the 4th. However, it's a special anniversary as well, because 25 years ago, this week, in 1997, Austin Powers International Man of Mystery dropped in theaters, and comedy was changed forever. And I want to take a minute to talk about Austin Powers and why it actually still holds up to this day.
I am so glad you want to talk about Austin Powers, because this is Also, one of my favorite films, and this is one. This is one. I think like a couple years ago, I was like, I rewatched it like on a whim, and I was like, I wonder if this holds up. Still really fucking funny.
Well, there was that one night we fucking stayed up all night. We watched the first and the second one, and came down hard on the second one because the first was superior. We didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
The strange thing about Austin Powers is it lives in that sort of pop culture infamy of like quotable comedies that become ingrained in pop culture that a lot of douchebags end up saying. So it's like, oh, behave, my wife, fucking, I'm Ron Burgundy, fucking Caddyshack references, something. There's that level, that peak level of comedy. Ace Ventura, there's like that level where just like everybody just quoted that to death, and then you almost start to doubt, was that movie even good in the first place?
Anything from Spaceballs,
yeah, exactly. May the Schwartz be with you and all that nonsense. A budget of $16.5 million, gross worldwide $67 million. So a success, not a gigantic success, but a success. And then apparently was one of the first like runaway DVD hits. Like it was just everybody owned this on DVD, and to the point where they started apparently like midway through doing the commentary track for the DVD, Mike Myers had learned that they wanted a sequel. So like that, so it was not something I guess they were super expecting to be a gigantic hit, but because keep in mind this is right after Wayne's World 1 and 2.
Yeah.
This is 6 seasons on SNL. This is a 2-year hiatus. Once Mike Myers left SNL, it was a 2-year hiatus, and then this is his big comeback thing, and it goes off like gangbusters. And I watched it before we started recording tonight, because that's the level of research I'm putting on this fucking show.
It's all fresh in his mind.
And it super still holds up.
What scenes stand out to you? Because I have a specific scene that.
Well, first of all, let's put this out in the open. I don't give a shit what anybody says. A lot of vagina jacuzzi scene was a sexual awakening for me. That was absolutely.
Okay.
I remember being 13 and being like, "Oh my god, I have to rewatch this scene 100 times now."
In my room with the door closed. Yeah.
Yes. And anytime I see that actress in another movie, that's all I think about. It's just like, it's a lot of vagina.
I want to talk about the scene where they walk into like the Vegas casino, because there's three maybe 4 back-to-back jokes or like bits or skits, whatever you want to call them.
Moments, I would say.
Moments
like that 4 moments back to
so
back.
fucking funny, because 5 maybe, because he's just like walking in and he's like, "Hey, there you are," and the guy's like, "Hey, do I know you?" "No, but that's where you are. You're there," and I'm just like, what a fucking
very
weirdo.
Stupid.
So
stupid.
So he like sits down at the table, and it's in the movie. It's he's supposed to be undercover spying on Dr. Evil's henchman or whatever.
Yes.
So he has to have like an alias, and he says like, "Hi, my name is Richie Cunningham. This is my wife, Oprah." The joke being that he's from 1969, before either of these people would be known names. And so everyone just looks at him like he's crazy.
The hell?
I love that. And then we go right into this reveal that Dr. Evil's henchman is cheating at blackjack. And he's got like this super-powered X-ray eye patch that allows him to see the top card of the deck. So he's got like, I don't know, 17 or 18 or something. And he hits...
It's 17. You were right the first time. Never doubt yourself.
I couldn't remember. I thought I knew this movie by heart, but
you do. Yeah. It was 17.
He hits on, he's like, "Oh, I'll hit on 17," and the dealer's like, "Sir, you have 17," and he looks right at Austin Powers, the protagonist, and says, "I like to live dangerously," and of course, flips over the card. It's exactly the card he needs to get 21. So Austin Powers draws he has like a 4 or something. And he's like, "I'll stay," and then looks right back at the just. Outrageous. That right there just speaks on a fundamental level to my sense of humor. Just like outrageous goofball, but like the 2 actors play it so well, because Mike Myers is like, "I like to live dangerously too," and like Dr. Evil's henchman just Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but the dealer is not. The dealer doesn't. The soup Nazi from Seinfeld does not exist in the same plane as those two characters, because as soon as he flips the card over, he's like, "You lose, sir. I'm sorry." He's just like he's not in the battle of wits between the two of them. He's like, "What is this asshole doing? Like, this is not how you play cards."
And I forgot the joke that's in between Richie Cunningham, my wife Oprah, and the card scene is, "What is your name? My name is a lot of vagina." And he's like, "Excuse me, I didn't get that." "Oh, it's a lot of vagina." I'm sorry, it sounds like you're saying a lot of... Yeah, like... just...
Well, I will say, to your point about the Richie Cunningham line, is really all in the delivery.
Yes.
Because the scene does a great job of, once he comes to, oh my God, there's Dr. Evil's henchman at Blackjack. Here's our chance. We're really getting the sense of like, okay, now here's when he turns on the James Bond. Like, this is where this is a classic setup, and he sits down confident, and Elizabeth Hurley's next to him, and it's like, oh, here we go. And he's going to hit him with his alias. And it's just, "I'm Richie Cunningham, and this is my wife, Oprah." And you're just like, oh my God, you blew it already. Like, it's so, it's
and I
built
love
up very, very well.
We shoot, and then the scene right after that is the bathroom scene where he's...
Which, here's the thing. I defy
You okay there, buddy?
I defy you. You show me a better performance from Tom Arnold in his whole fucking career, because it doesn't exist. Him as the random Vegas cowboy is the best performance that Tom Arnold ever gave. Like, he's just sitting there. So, James, please explain the bathroom scene.
First of all,
Austin
Austin Powers comes in, and there is a very obviously sight-impaired, like, bathroom attendant.
Yeah.
And Austin Powers, "You haven't happened to seen anything at all, have you?" Like, just another, just like, ugh. I love the variety of jokes we get. We get the awkward, like, cringe, like, "Oh, you haven't seen anything at all," or like, that's the same kind of joke as like a lot of vagina. But then we have, the like outrageous, like, Richie Cunningham, my wife Oprah, and then contrast that against it's almost like a layered joke, because like we get the reveal that, it's a little bit of character development too, because we get the reveal that number 2, Dr. Evil's henchman, is kind of this sleazy guy who's cheating people at blackjack. And then we also get this reveal that Austin Powers is a fucking goofball who doesn't know anything about cards, but just wants to look cool. Like, I like that. And then we go into toilet humor. Like, we have a variety of jokes that are dealt our way. Like, there's something for everyone in there. So then we get the, like, "You haven't happened to see anything at all." So Austin Powers is in the stall.
Because he's followed number 2.
Number
2
went into the bathroom. Into the stall.
He's followed him.
He's stalking number 2, but there's another assassin who, like, comes out of a secret panel in the stall.
Yes.
Which makes no fucking sense. How would they have known?
No, this whole joke is definitely like, they got to the punchline and they had to work backwards, and when they got to the point of, but how does the assassin get into the stall that Austin's in to try to kill him? They're like, I don't know, there's a secret panel. Shut the fuck up.
But
in that moment they were making fun of old ass movies.
Yeah,
where
true.
Weird ass.
I love
pathways, doors,
and I love the just very obvious, like, not give a shit hand wave, like, I don't know, secret passage, whatever. Like, I love it because it's so, if you stop to think about it for 2 seconds, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
So Austin is in a stall, just like waiting out number 2, and Tom Arnold is a random fucking patron at this casino dressed as a cowboy, and he sits in the stall next to him, and they're like kind of like having some friendly banter or whatever, and then the assassin sneaks in and starts trying to kill Austin Powers. He's trying to choke him to death, but of course, the subversion is, from Tom Arnold's perspective, he just sees Austin's pants around his ankles, and he's like struggling and making a lot of grunting noises. So the the whole joke of it is, Austin is trying not to be murdered, and Tom Arnold thinks that he's taking the shit of his life. And so it just keeps cutting back and forth between Austin, like he gets the assassin off of his neck and starts drowning him in the toilet, and Tom Arnold's like, "Oh, that sounds nasty. I'm gonna courtesy flush." Like, it's so stupid. But like I said, I've never seen Tom Arnold look more concerned for another human being's life than in that scene. Like, he's like, "Hey, come on, take it easy. You're gonna blow an O-ring." Like, he genuinely cares about Austin Powers. And then what's the end of the fucking joke? The end of the joke is Austin kills the assassin in the toilet. He steps out. Tom Arnold sees a dead body in the stall and goes, "Boy, what did you eat?" And then we move on. That's the next scene.
Those scenes all right back to back. Oh, so good. So
Justin,
good.
Obviously James and I big fans of this movie. What are some elements that still stand out to you 25 years after the fact?
I always loved the nude scene where he's like just walking naked. And
we do like every visual thing possible to block
they're
it.
They're censoring him like with objects and like the whole like biting the carrot, and he's like, "Ah!"
And we do that multiple times in this movie.
Oh yeah, it happens more than once. I don't know why, but one of the things that always sticks out to me, because it's one of those just like really stupid, but kind of, because it's obvious this movie obviously came out when I was a kid. It was one of those just kind of funny things that just happened. Was they're trying to escape, or trying to get to the missile or drill, and they hop onto a steamroller to try to escape. Right. Yeah, and here is Michael McDonald from Mad TV,
from Mad
sitting
TV.
Here, putting up his hand and just screaming at them, and they're like, "Just get out of the way!" And he's just screaming for his life. I don't know. That always like stuck in my mind as just being so stupid. But
it's one of those things that like. I feel like has been done to death now, but at the time, like, again, the structure of it, like they're in the steamroller. Oh my God, they're gonna hit this guy, but they're like a mile away from this guy. Like very reminiscent to like the in Monty Python, the Holy Grail, and they're coming up the hill, and it's like you're waiting.
Yeah,
and he never moves, and they kill him. They steamroll over him,
screaming him, and it's I don't know, something about his scream too, just like stayed in my head.
That's part of it is like there's a lot of performances in this where people are really giving a shit, and that's one of them. Like he screams like from the depth of his soul. He screams, and you're just like, "Hey man, this is just a silly haha movie, and what the hell are you doing?" And he really gives it his all. Same with Robert Wagner, who plays number 2. He plays it super serious.
Great straight man.
Fantastic. And there's a lot of really great jokes that are built on. And Seth Green as Scott, Dr. Evil's son, he plays that super straight, like just very like serious business about being like the son of an idiot. Like it's
I love that this movie is constantly passing off who is the goofball and who is the straight man. Because, like, even in that scene where I was describing, the, like, outrageous a lot of vagina thing, Austin Powers has to play the straight man. And then immediately it flips to where Austin doesn't know anything about cards, and Robert Wagner's like, all right. And there's so much of that where, even in the dynamic between Seth Green and Dr. Evil, where, like, Dr. Evil's a goofball, and, like, Seth is like, you're a fucking insane old man, you're this crazy frozen dictator from 1969, and then that flips, like, I don't know. I just love...
So I will tell you one of my favorite scenes, and it's from earlier in the film.
Uh-huh.
One of my absolute favorite scenes. And I love it because it is structured almost like a Looney Tunes bit. Like, it's so... Like, it just keeps building higher. And, of course, it's after Austin gets thawed out and he has to go retrieve his things.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Fuck,
yes. Such a good so good. It's so good.
And it's like, oh, yes, sir. You're, at first it's so innocent. It's like, necklace that's the male symbol. And he's like, yeah. It starts, again, so debonair. Because it's like, oh, yes, this is a box of stuff for a Danger Powers. And he's like, no, that's not right. And he's like, well, that's what it says here. He goes, but Danger's my middle name. And he gives, like, the bedroom eyes to Vanessa Kensington. Like, interested. And so we start with the necklace, and we start with, like, chino shoes. Like, oh, okay, great. And it's, like, Swedish-made penis pump. And he's like, oh, my God, because she's right there. Like, oh, that's not mine. That's absolutely not my – that's not my kind of thing. And it's like, oh, a credit card receipt for a Swedish-made penis. And he's like, signed by Austin Danger Powers. He's like, I swear to God, this isn't mine. And then finally, the book, my Swedish-made penis pump and me, this sort of thing is my bag, baby. And it's just so good.
The way he hits this sort of thing is my bag, baby. Like the way he hits that line.
The way that guy delivers.
It's so like. Just the opportunity just to be that much of an asshole on camera to Mike Myers, just to be like, no, fuck you. And then, so Austin's excuse, you know what? I'm just going to sign for this and we'll just get moving forward. We got stuff to do. And so he and Vanessa have a moment where she's like, well, you don't call me baby. People don't call people baby in the 90s. You can call me like Agent Kensington or maybe Vanessa. And it's like, oh, we've had like a little character moment. And then we're just about to leave the scene. And then Austin turns around and he's got the guy working the desk still has the penis pump, and Austin's response is quickly, and then just like puts it in the box and goes. So it's like just a great cherry on top of that Sunday of just like we're building up the ridiculousness and the absurdity, and it's like to a fever pitch where like it can't be denied anymore. We have a slight misdirection and some character building, only to capitalize on the joke of this thing is definitely his bag, by the way.
Yeah.
And then it comes back. They tie the pump in at the end. Like, it's so good. Actually, it comes up. It's the rule of threes in comedy, because that's the first time.
Yep.
And then when Agent Kensington and Austin get to their hotel because they're like pretending to be a couple, they're both unloading their luggage. Mm-hmm. And they like pull out their guns, and it's like, oh shit, here we go. And then the next thing Austin pulls out is the penis pump. And he's like, oh my God. And she looks at it, he's like, someone's playing a prank on me. This isn't mine. And she's like, yeah, all right, whatever. And then it comes back at the very end. So it's like, I really appreciate the super scientific, like we have put it like this. And I think there's almost like a math to the casino scene that James described, where it's like, it's a joke, and then it's like 3 minutes of breathing room, and then joke, and then another like 2 minutes of breathing room, and then more joke. Like there are apexes in this movie where there's just so many jokes after another, and they all hit, and then we move on to the next thing, and I'm dazzled by that.
The pacing and editing in this movie is so good. My wife pointed out we've been watching Our Flag Means Death. They totally stole the Swedish-made penis enlarger pump joke for, what's his name? For the main character, who I can't think of his name right now.
Captain Steed?
Steed, yes. For Steed's journal. Because he's like, oh, what's that? And he's like, oh, this? It's like a pirate fan fiction. And he like takes it, and this other pirate takes it, and he's like reading it, and it says, this is the journal of Steed Bonnet, or whatever. And the other pirate's like, oh no, it's not, it's just fan fiction. And then he like keeps reading it, and it's like, this is my journal. My name is Steve, and I'm writing in this journal. Like, this is definitely my journal. No, it's not a journal. And I don't think it's as...
classic comedy, though.
Yeah. It's not. It doesn't get as good or as ridiculous as the penis pump, but
so. And part of the thing is, and one thing about my wife is, whenever we talk about Blazing Saddles, her favorite joke in Blazing Saddles is the candygram. When Mongo is like beating up the whole town, and Sheriff Bart comes in the little like delivery boy outfit, and he's like, candygram for Mongo, and then Mongo's like, oh, I'm Mongo, and he opens it up and it blows up in his face like a Looney Tunes bit.
Yeah.
The joke that comes after that is everybody's impressed that Sheriff Bart beat this giant monster guy, and his response is, yeah, well, the bitch was inventing the candygram. Because, like, the movie knew, like, well, that's not a thing yet, and decided to go the extra mile to explain, like, no, he had to invent that so that it would work for this. So the absurd prop idea of, like, ha, this is a penis pump. That's funny. Like, that alone in your average 90s comedy would have been the end of it. Would have been like,
yes,
he's so smooth,
yes,
and it's a penis pump. Ha.
Yeah,
and then it's oh, no, I'm denying it. Here's a credit card receipt that's got your name on it. Oh, no, I'm denying it. The absurdity of, here is a very thick book that has your fucking picture on the front that says, this is your kind of fucking bag.
Yeah.
is so ridiculous and it's so absurd, but it's like, yeah, where else could you go? Like, you had to take it one step higher, so yeah, why the fuck wouldn't you have it say that? Then it's, you cannot deny it any further, so then it's just, you know what, I'll just sign for this and we'll move on.
Yeah.
So
good.
But I thought, like I said, there's the James, you've mentioned this before, that the only performance that you are not impressed with.
You disagree with me on this, right?
I do.
I do not think, what's her name, Elizabeth Hurley?
Yes.
I don't think she's great in this movie. I don't. Every time I just watch her performance, she's just not. She appears to be just wowed by Mike Myers' performance and just can't match his energy. And I don't know, she just seems like she's out of the scene to me. And
part of that, I was actually trying to do a lot of research for this, and I was very excited to talk about this. And they said that between 30 to 40% of the dialogue in the movie was improv. So the famous shush scene with Dr. Evil,
I could see that being improv.
That's improv. I wouldn't be surprised if the walking in the casino and the hey, there you are. I wouldn't be surprised if that's improv. Yeah. I'm sure some of Tom Arnold's stuff was improv.
Yeah. Because who writes that in a script? It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
I can't imagine somebody writing down calm down, you're gonna blow out your O-ring. I just can't
writing that down. It's so dumb. You're right. It's the performances that make the stupid work.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like if that is the case, and there's a lot of improv.
Yeah.
I could see Elizabeth Hurley getting left in the dust because she's not a comedic actress.
Yeah.
So, I think the best moment of that is when Austin and Vanessa get captured by Dr. Evil. They're in his secret lair, and they reveal the drill, burrow into the center of the earth, and cause the volcanoes to explode. And as soon as they pull that, they do an insert shot that definitely wasn't filmed in real time. This was definitely an idea somebody had afterwards. And so they reveal the drill, and Austin leans over to Vanessa and goes, "Does that make you horny?" And she's like, "Oh, Austin, stop it." That feels improv, and that feels as best as she could muster for an improv.
Yeah. And she gives a good eye roll there too, which I believe.
Right, and I think that's part of it too. Is I think she's at her best when she is being a wet blanket.
I love the scene where the fembots and Austin does his dance, and I love the scene where she just comes in and stares, because that's all she has to do, and the performance is on Mike Myers to oh no, well, I started working my mojo, and they were working and they got cross-mogination, their heads started exploding, it's and then she's just okay. What?
You have watched this movie a lot.
Justin,
quoted that no problem.
I don't know how to tell you this, buddy. You fell into a fucking Austin Powers podcast.
I
James and I fucking love this movie.
Oh, I've seen the first one plenty of times, but goddamn, I couldn't quote it like that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And there are some even so. Again, talking about performances. Fucking Clint Howard as the radar technician. He has one scene. Maybe two. And he sells it so well. Like when they see Dr. Evil's escape ship in the beginning and it's shaped like the Bob's Big Boy, and it's they came back in and the colonel's oh my god, this is top secret. And then it disappears off the radar. Or no, he's it looks like a Bob's Big Boy, and he's oh my god, it's back. And then Clint Howard goes into a soft pitch for the restaurant chain where he's well, actually, sir, Bob's Big Boy never really left. They've been serving quality food at competitive prices. And he's shut up. It's so stupid. But Clint, for a minute, you're is Clint Howard the mayor of Bob's Big Boy? Does he own stock in Bob's Big Boy? I believe him. And there's just so many little moments. I love all the 60s stuff in the beginning when we get to see Austin in his element and how fucking cartoonish it is and how ridiculous it is. Really just to serve the purpose of the culture shock. That's all it does. It's just there to be hey, the 90s suck, which is very interesting that that is kind of the subtext of the movie. It's hey, the 90s are lame and shitty.
Now we're living in the era where we're all nostalgic for the 90s.
For the 90s. And every big movie from the 90s was hey, this era sucks and everything sucks. And the music sucks and the fashion suck and this is all shitty. And now we're looking back on it fondly. Um, is there any, which I guess is a question for James because he has this movie memorized. Are there any moments that don't work for you in the first one? Anything that you think falls flat? Anything that you were like, we probably could have trimmed this down?
I wish, because I haven't seen it since you and I watched it last, which is a year and a half ago, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
I remember thinking that some of the like Dr. Evil bits, especially some of the stuff that just has entered the like pop culture consciousness and gets quoted to death. I remember just like watching those and thinking like, how did this become like so mimetic? Like the stupid like $1 million, like why was that the thing that everyone latched onto? And like everyone does the $1 million, like what? Why was that? I don't know. Like I don't find this funny. Like I
will say that the last act gets a little sluggish once they're in the underground layer. It gets a little sluggish.
I agree.
And the ending itself is kind of like, it feels sort of thrown together. Like the first 2/3 of the film are so strong, and there's like so many jokes, and then towards the end it feels like we kind of run out of steam, and it's like, well, we can't really make that many jokes, you know.
Yep.
But overall, though, I think it's a super strong comedy. It surprisingly still holds up. Like there's always going to be a soft spot in my heart for the original Ace Ventura, but the entire villain and the whole ending portion of that movie does not hold up anymore. Like, you can't be like, yeah, that trans person is the villain, and they have different genitalia than we would expect. That's the punchline. That's not okay.
Him vomiting and spitting. Yeah.
And does anybody even know what Dan Marino is anymore?
This trans person who we thought was a female turns out to still have male parts. Everyone throws up at the same time.
Right,
like, Jesus almighty. Like, that's not okay. If you explain that movie to someone, they'd be like, and then everyone got shot afterwards, right? Like, that's, I hate crime you just described to me.
No, the fact that Austin still is watchable
still holds up.
Yeah.
It's still all right. And especially now that the 90s are so looked at with nostalgia goggles, I think it might even have like a resurgence soon, because it does capture the obnoxiousness of the 90s pretty well. As we said earlier, James and I did watch the second one right after, and it pales in comparison. It did way better. It made like so much more money and became like such a big pop cultural landmark. But if you were looking at them as pure comedies, the first one is so well put together, and the second one does a lot of borrowing from the first one.
I think the second one, we start to get just a little bit derivative, and that's, I think, where we really get into trouble into the third one. Like, the third one is just so derivative. It's like, oh my god, what are we doing?
There's a couple of moments in the second one that take an idea and expand on that joke, and it's for the better, because I immediately think of Will Ferrell's part, because Will Ferrell in the first movie is just a bit part. He gets like thrown in a pit, and he doesn't die right away, and it's like extended for a little bit of time. It's funny. In the second one, we go back, we do it again, and this time it's a lot more memorable. It's a lot more quotable lines. So that's like, okay, we improved upon it the second time. Same thing with like some of the Dr. Evil stuff, the like going beyond shush and then it zip it. And then
a lot of that stuff I'm just like, why is this funny?
Which is still derivative, but like, we expanded on it because like the shush is just shush. Whereas zip, you're getting into like these weird abstract ideas of like, do you want a suckle of my zipple? And I'm zippy long stockings, like shit that you're like, what are we even talking about anymore? And like him bullying number 2 with like the big bouncing globe. Like, there are certain elements I'm like, okay, this is derivative, but we did improve upon the formula. But you're right. I think that's what saves it from just being like, oh, we literally just copy and pasted and did the same goddamn thing again.
I still think the second movie is pretty good. I will say my least favorite thing is like most of Fat Bastard. Like, most of that does not play funny for me. I don't know.
It's I think the absurdity of it, of just like, oh my god, because like, did you ever see the fucking the Nutty Professor remake with Eddie Murphy? Like,
oh yeah, maybe, yeah.
the Clumps, his whole extended family is fat. He's fat for some of the movie. Like, there was a time where that was just like, mwah, comedy gold. This person who's not normally
if you're
fat,
a fat guy,
this now.
funny.
My favorite, my absolute favorite, is the end. In contrast to the first movie, I think the end of the second movie has a very strong ending where
True.
I think kind of the I like the message of the, if these movies have a message, I like the message of the second movie where Austin fails to get his mojo back, which is the MacGuffin that he's chasing for the whole movie, fails to get his mojo, and like he's, you know, his love interest is like, come on, you've had your mojo the whole time, you don't need, you know, you saved the world, you defeated Dr. Evil, you're gonna get the girl, what do you need your mojo for? So, and I absolutely love the ridiculous time travel paradox where Austin meets himself from 15 minutes ago, and then they start just being ridiculous, and then the after credits scene, Austin walks in on his love interest in bed with someone else, and he's like, what? Like, how? Like, what? And then he realizes that it's Austin from 15 minutes from now, and then, anyway, it's fucking ridiculous.
It's gonna all bang together.
Yeah.
Also, I will say I do give kudos for the ultimate Ghostbusters 2. How do we get out of a happy ending of the previous film? I think Austin Powers 2 is the number one of like, hey, the end of the first one, Austin learns to like be cool in the 90s. He's married to Agent Kensington, like cool. They're monogamous, great, happy ending, hooray, goodbye. And then the second movie, they're like, well, we can't have him fucking tied down. Like, he can't be married. That's boring as shit. So just, whoops, she was actually a fembot the whole time. And fuck that shit. She's dead already. And now we're moving on. Like, great. Wonderful. Great.
Machine Gun Jubblies. How did I miss those?
Called foreplay. That's going to be a bonus. We're going to bring the Patreon back, and we're going to do a bonus episode that's just James and I playing every part.
Do you think we could? Do you think we could do the whole movie? Because I could do that with Star Wars. Do you think we could do it with Austin Powers?
Probably pretty close. I don't know if you recall when you go back and rewatch this and you see your explanation, including director's notes of the casino scene. You're gonna go, "Holy shit, I'm very autistic." You're gonna say that, and then you're gonna say, "Wow, I really know this movie." Yeah, no, the 25th anniversary of Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. Holy shit, what a fucking classic. We'll play the fucking card game on this podcast because there was an Austin Powers Pokemon style, Magic the Gathering style card game that was created and sold terribly. And this man owns the entire set. Start to finish, he has the entire collection, and we will play it on this show when it's Card Games with James. So, Justin, any final thoughts on Austin Powers, reminiscing about it? Did this movie shape you in any way when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say it opened up my comedic silliness interests. I always associated the movie with like kind of Looney Tune-ish comedy, the whole like, you know, cart stuck in the hallway scene.
Yeah, genius.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's actually how I know I'm getting older, is that I'm liking more of those style of comedies. Yeah. Like, I remember when I was a kid thinking like the Naked Gun movies were like the stupidest fucking thing on the planet Earth. And now like I've watched Police Squad, which is like the TV show that led to Naked Gun, and I'm like, this is fucking genius.
Yeah.
So
I love absurdist comedy. I love the fucking penis enlarger pump. I love the fucking stupid
sort of thing is my bag, baby.
Yeah, so good.
Have you ever seen Police Squad, James?
Yeah,
Did I ever make you watch that?
We watched it. You and I did.
In college, okay.
No,
make sure.
No, you came over to my house and put it on my television. We watched it together.
Why did I do that? Why did I torture you?
No, it's funny. I enjoyed it. We had a good time. You've forgotten it. Usually I'm the one with a terrible memory. Why is it you?
It's only with movies. Everything else, it's like people
You're right.
or places or things.
I have
it's
the
movies.
I have the entirety of Austin Powers in my brain, but I can't remember important dates. I can't remember, I don't know.
Birthdays, anniversaries,
Nothing. It's all gone. Anything
life-changing memories, all
work
gone.
related is gone. Just anything fucking important gone.
James walks back into his house. It's like, when did we get a dog?
Yeah, exactly. But if you ask him, like, and Austin, here's my mother, Mrs. Exposition, and then he punches her.
Yes, just absurdist dumb shit. I fucking love that. That's a man, baby.
I mean, at least they set it up. They set it up
yeah.
in the beginning in the 60s, like,
Yes.
he punches it.
And
like,
that's
totally
why
right.
that's why it's funny, because the audience has seen this skit before and knows what
And that it
Austin
works.
is. Yes, and it worked because Austin. Yes, so good, so stupid. That's my mother.
My only little thing about this is, in doing research, there's a lot of people who claim that, like, the Dr. Evil character and voice is just like a parody of Lorne Michaels.
That's what I've heard.
But here's how I challenge that. If you've ever seen the, like, D-grade comedy So I Married an Axe Murderer, which was like Mike Myers' first big comedy attempt, which he didn't direct or write. It was somebody else's idea, and he was just starring in it, and it flopped. And allegedly, that's what caused him to go, like, if I'm ever going to be in a movie again, I have to have creative control to some extent. But in that movie, there is a scene, I definitely pulled it up on YouTube. There's a scene where he's talking to this girl, and they're, like, getting to know each other on a date, and he's like, tell me something really evil about yourself. Like, what's the most evil thing about you? And she's like, oh, what kind of evil? And he's like, truly evil, like fruits from the devil. And he says it, and it sounds just like Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
So, like, he was already doing that voice at some point, but it just, like, I guess makes for more comedy or drama or, like, I don't know, rumory shit to be like, it's actually a rip on fucking Lorne Michaels. I don't know. But that's my only thing.
I mean, it could be. I mean, that's how it goes with anybody. Is like sometimes you just make a voice, and it could be from inspired by other people, but it sometimes just is your own little character. You make your own little guy.
100%. I think you're absolutely 100% right on. But
Also, it's very sad that the only thing I remember from that movie is his like poetry sessions.
Yeah,
his little jazz poet thing that he did.
It was like, woman, whoa, man.
Yeah.
Like, that and the giant coffee that they had him, like, this, like, coffee cup the size of my fucking head, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I ordered the large. Hello. Like, it's very obnoxious. But yeah, like, it's one of those things where, like, I think just people have made it more of a thing than it is. I think you're right. I think it's just a voice that just sort of came out, and he was like, oh, I'll just go with it. But people are like, well, when you were Dr. Evil, wasn't that you actually saying fuck you to Lorne Michaels? Like, I think that's just where we are now. That's the narrative now.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, go watch Austin Powers. It's available on Amazon Prime Video for rental for $3. I rented it before the episode, and I've got 20 minutes left to go. So I'm going to watch it right after this and finish it. So Kirby was good. Austin Powers won better. That's my vote.
Do you guys also want to...
Kirby, ultimate penis bump.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
He can suck at anything.
This Kirby made penis pump and me.
You want a semi-truck sized cock?
This
Kirby can make it happen.
This banana Waddle Dee is my bag, baby.
Fuck. Do you guys want to endorse other stuff? Because I've got a tie-in endorsement to, like,
oh shit,
your, like, crazy story about Michael Myers imitating Lorne Michaels. I have been listening. I'll go ahead and recommend it if you like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and you, like, really like it. The three male lead actors, Rob McElhenney, Charlie Day, and Glenn Howerton, do a weekly podcast where they are starting at season 1, they go to season 2, season 3. They're rewatching their own show, and they just divulge a bunch of crazy behind the scenes shit about every episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And it is crazy listening, just all these crazy behind the scenes things, like sort of related to, like, Michael Myers' Lorne Michaels impression. Just the name, Deandra, it was D, who is the female lead in the show. She has a nickname, Sweet D, and and they use it especially a lot at the beginning of the show. Apparently, that was something Rob McElhenney like accidentally stole from Tom Morello, the lead guitarist of Rage Against the Machine. I guess they went over to a party at his house, and like his girlfriend, fiance, wife, he kept calling her Sweet D, and Rob was like, "That's such a cool nickname," and then like used it in the TV show, and then the TV show exploded and got so popular, and like I guess Tom Morello called and he's like, "Hey, I'm fucking pissed. Like, why'd you steal my wife's nickname?" Like,
well, in Tom Morello's defense, it's not like D is like a great character in the show. So yeah, if you were like, oh, you know, I call my wife Schnookamookums, and this giant asshole on called Schnookamookums, I'd be like, hey, what the fuck, man? So
yeah. Like, so there's just all these crazy behind the scenes things that you learn, and you really get to get a lot of insight of like who these actors are when they're not in character. And I will say I think a lot of the actors are way closer to their characters than they will admit, especially Glenn Howerton as Dennis Reynolds. That actor is almost just the same character. He is so he's got so much maniac energy when he's not in character. Not in character. He's just being himself, talking on the podcast, and he gets so worked up, and he's just yelling over the other two hosts. And I'm like, are you Glenn, or are you know, your character Dennis? Like, which one is coming out?
Where does
right?
Glenn stop and Dennis begin?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, really interesting podcast, especially if you're a fan of the show.
Didn't they do like a whole podcast where they just slowly got more and more drunk?
Yes, that was a recent, because Rob, Mac from the show, Rob goes, hey, I think it would be a really great idea if we all got like blackout drunk and recorded an episode of the podcast. And they fucking did. I'm listening to the podcast sequentially. I've seen highlights from that episode, but I haven't gotten to that episode yet, so I haven't listened to it. But
yeah, I've seen the highlights, that's why.
Yeah. So yeah.
Justin, anything you can endorse?
I've been browsing TikTok lately, and I came across a mashup artist who I'm enjoying, DJ Cumberbund. Cumberbund.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really getting into that. His stuff's really good.
Zach is a fan.
Yeah.
I like his TikToks a lot because he shows the like kind of the editing process of it. Like he'll show the whatever program he uses to edit with. He'll show,
and I love how he names all of his tracks.
Yes, how he keeps them organized is amazing.
Yeah.
But that's super interesting to me. Like I really, it's funny that you mentioned that. I've been trying to find, like I was trying to build, I don't even know what the genre is called. It's not quite mashup, but like, okay, so Frontier Psychiatrist by the Avalanches. That's like a kind of internet-y song that everybody sort of knows at some degree, but it's built like entirely out of sound bites of just like random shit. And I want to find more music like that. And that's a weird genre that I've only been able to find like one or two other songs by different artists that kind of are close to that, but nothing like that. And then you go, well, just listen to more of the fucking songs from that band. That's the only song for that band that sounds like that. Everything else is sort of other different genres.
Yeah.
But DJ Cumberbund comes close. There's a couple of mashups that he makes, and I'm like, this is fucking wild. What are we doing? Because it feels like with a lot of his songs, the beginning is like the sales pitch of it. It's like, oh, it's this instrumental and this vocal track, and this is something you wouldn't expect. And you're like, okay, yeah, this is interesting. I like this. It's got a good vibe. And then like 2/3 of the way through, he'll be like, yeah, anyway, here's 8 other songs I'm putting in here too.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, then you start, hearing vocals from, like, songs from the 60s.
Yeah, basically, as soon as Macho Man shows up, that's when you know, like, shit's about to get real. Because in almost every one of his songs, there's at least either a Macho Man, like, rap lyric, or there's him going, oh, yeah! And you're like, okay, here we go.
And he always marks it, too, like a little, oh, yeah, right there on his
So
thing.
you know. That's how you know it's good quality.
No, what hooked me onto him was he came out with a parody song, Feet Pants.
Yeah.
Pants Feet.
Yes.
Which is what's the band everybody hates?
Nickelback.
It's them.
Oh yes, I know that song. Yes.
Yeah, and he takes it and just like, I love feet and I love pants.
Yeah, that's
it's
all you need to know. I actually came out to a DJ Cummerbund song. I was doing commentary for Kaiju Big Battle last weekend, and they were like, before the show, they're like, "Oh, what theme song do you want to come out to?" And I was like, "I don't know." And they're like, "No, there's no, we're not worried about copyright. So like any song you want." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And so I started like scrolling through YouTube, and I'm like, "What about this?" And so I came out to Pretty Fly for Rasputin, and so that's what I came out to, and everyone was very confused. And speaking of wrestling, perfect segue into my endorsement. This weekend, Saturday, the day before Mother's Day, in beautiful, luxurious Brooksville, Florida, at Leadfoot City, there is a Cinco de Mayo themed fair, I guess you could say, at Leadfoot City. They're gonna have Tino Puente Jr. is there to like conduct his band, and there's gonna be like cars and monster trucks and all this other shit. But fuck all that shit. There's gonna be wrestling, and I'm gonna be there doing ring announcing for Brawl USA Wrestling. There's gonna be a rumble. There's gonna be like 20 dudes all coming in the ring and trying to throw each other over the top rope, and hopefully no one breaks their neck. And I'll be there making the announcements and all that. So if you're anywhere near that area, come out to Leadfoot City on Saturday. I believe the event starts at 5, and we'll probably be on at 6. So come in, eat some fried food, watch some pro wrestling, and yeah, that's my endorsement. You can go to Leadfoot City on Facebook or Brawl USA on any social media and find out what the fuck is going on. So that's my ringing endorsement. Hopefully this episode goes up before then, James.
Oh,
or else
fuck!
I'm like a real horse's ass.
I will try to get it up ASAP.
That's what she said. Anyway, so that's it. Everyone enjoy this very, very on-themed May the 4th episode of the Good Games podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed yourself.
And if you really want more Star Wars content, go back and listen to our previous episode where we talk about Lego Star Walkers. Holy
Lego
shit.
Skywalkers.
Holy fuck.
Lego Star Walkers. You heard it here, folks.
I'm getting tired.
The DLC package.
It's time for me to go to bed.
Yes.
So for the Good Games podcast, I'm James.
I'm Justin.
I'm Zach.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
This sort of thing is our bag.
Baby. All right.
But yeah, fellas.
That
This was fun.
That was very fun.
I'm so glad that you allowed me to completely derail this fucking thing.
Oh my god, and you guys are very passionate about Austin Powers. Lord of mercy. I don't know how. I knew James really enjoyed the movie, but god damn.